Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 48 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who are the rebel scum with me tonight?
Pew, pew, pew. Stefan JD.
Stuart Hughes. That's my best lightsaber.
That's Stuart. This is Peter Bingham-Pankratz.
People just heard a couple days ago, or depending on the other episode, because he was on the holiday special. Oh, God.
Thanks,
Oh.
I'm trying to remember in my head what a speeder bike sounds like, and now I can't do it for some reason.
Only we had the internet at our fingertips. Oh, Peter, if you want to, where people might know you from?
If you have been reading sci-fi, you might have read my book, The Fifth Civilization, which is available now on Amazon for Kindle and a physical form. And if you haven't read it yet, go check it out. It's good.
And there will be, as always, there will be a link in the show notes for his book. And also, this week, which I haven't done lately, I want to give a shout out to another podcast. Stefan, you'll like this one. It's called X-Mex. It's Mexican guys talking about X-Men comics.
I thought it was like Mexicans, like cereal? Like
No,
X-Men
it's
Mexican cereal?
X-Mex. Nope. Their logo is a Wolverine claw with maracas.
Represent. Woo.
Okay.
I listened to a little bit of it before we were working with them. It's not bad. It's funny. It just started off kind of like a bunch of sex jokes in the beginning that I didn't get very far in that episode. But hey, if you're looking for another podcast to add to your rotation, definitely give them a listen. And there will be, well, probably not any sex jokes in this podcast too often. But
We would never make any.
we don't make many. We don't make many. We make a few. We make a lot of dumb jokes. Make a lot of dumb jokes though. But that's part of our charm, you know.
Yep, it's all on the spot.
Something about
And I
lightsabers being phallic. Just throw that in.
Well, I have a picture of Baby Yoda holding things. If you want it, I
What
can
the
send it.
fuck?
Whoa.
That's-
Okay.
It's on my
The
phone.
more
It's not on
vague
here.
that is, the worse it is.
Is that supposed to be better?
No, I'm part of a Mandalorian Facebook group called This Is the Way, and it's just tons of memes about the Mandalorian show. And one of them is a Baby Yoda holding a dildo instead of a lightsaber.
Wow.
Okay. Well,
Does Baby Yoda hold a lightsaber?
No, but someone just put
Oh,
it in his hand. It makes
Just
a joke.
dildos.
When
I
you
haven't
found
watched
your
it,
mother's
so I wait for
lightsaber.
all of it to come out.
But
I don't care about spoilers though, so
it's not a spoiler because it's not in it. It's just a joke.
I
Uh,
always have to follow that up when people are like, "Have you watched The Mandalorian?" I'm like, "No, I'm waiting for it to all be out." And they're like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about it." Then I'm like, "No, tell me about the show. Like, feel free to spoil it so that I know if Disney Plus is worth the money to even pay."
Disney
Well,
Plus
Stu.
at times feels like I'm watching from a pirated station, which I never would have done that before, never. So
Yeah.
but that's what it feels like. I feel like I'm watching on a pirated site because every so often I got to back out, reload it. I'm just like, this is not.
Spoilers. Mandalorian is really good, by the way.
I keep hearing. I've heard nothing but. Well, I want to say I've heard nothing but good things. I've heard a couple people that are like, episode 5 is a little iffy, but other than that,
I was going to say episode 4 was iffy.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll watch it and love it because Star Wars.
It's not. It's
And
good.
Werner Herzog.
Disney Plus. I mean, and my only bad thing about Disney Plus is when I was on the PlayStation 4 using it, when I streamed it on my phone or a tablet or other device, I had no problem. Just the PS4 app is not up to standard yet.
See, that's the exact opposite problem I have with like Crunchyroll and Hulu. Like whenever I try to watch Hulu on my iPad, it just it'll just constantly freeze and be like, "Oh, sorry, lost connection. Can't keep doing this. You got to restart Hulu entirely." And Crunchyroll was like, "Oh, we're gonna play 5 minutes of the episode and then take 30 minutes to load, and then maybe you'll get to watch the rest of it. Who knows? Fuck you. You don't need to watch Naruto. It's okay."
Oh, and I think I should introduce what lovely game I picked for us this week. I think it's been long enough. Hey, this game does have some ties to Mandalorian, sort of. I mean, not really, but
Just
it has
a
bounty hunters.
Yeah, I would say it has a Mandalorian in it. With
It's not a bounty
Mandalorian
hunter, it's a
armor.
mercenary.
Boba Fett's not a Mandalorian, I guess, in the canon.
Mandalorian armor.
No, apparently he's not. I always thought Boba Fett was a fucking Mandalorian, but I guess he's
I did
not.
too.
And Jango
Nope.
Fett was never a Mandalorian. He just wore the Mandalorian armor.
Yep.
Right, killed somebody and took it.
Even though they, have New Zealand accents, and ever since then, every single Mandalorian has had a New Zealand accent, and literally the entire idea of a Mandalorian is based off of Boba Fett. But whatever, he's not really a
Star
Mandalorian.
Wars. We are talking about Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire for N64 and PC.
Yay!
It came out
Yeah.
in 1996, 96, 97, respectively, for 64 and PC, made by LucasArts. No longer
Okay.
exists.
Nope.
When it came out, it was the top-selling N64 game, and I think even now it's the third top-selling N64 game of all time. It sold like over 1 million copies.
Wow.
Oh, and there will be spoilers for this game, which doesn't matter because none of it's canon. Spoiler for the book doesn't matter. Spoilers for the comic, I'm sure, doesn't matter.
Well, technically, because I had to look this up to be sure, Dash Rendar, the character, at least the name, is canon.
And the ship is canon. It's in special edition, one of the special edition movies. I think the first one.
I don't know if it's the Outrider, but the ship that it's based off of is canon.
Yeah, the Outlander appears in special edition New Hope, Rebels, and Dash is a rival to Han Solo in a new book.
Yeah, it's not even like a new book. It's like I looked up. It's Solo, a Star Wars a Star Wars story Tales from Vandor. It's like a journal. It's like a replica of a journal that Han Solo would have.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and that's like he mentions the name Dash Rendar, and that's why Dash Rendar, the name at least, is canon. But everything he did in the games and any books and anything is all legends now.
Even though Dash Rendar is basically a clone of Han Solo to begin with.
Oh God! Let me start off by saying, I like this game. A lot of people like this game, but like a lot of people, I also agree that Dash Rendar is the worst Star Wars character of all time. He's one of the most annoying, shitty characters.
I have one thing to say to you. Sand is rough. I don't like sand. Sand gets coarse, but you're soft.
To that, I'll say, Mike, the entirety of Star Wars Clone Wars, the TV show, minus maybe the first season, where Anakin is actually a great character, and like you get to see his fall into the dark side, and it's great, and he's like an actual character with goals and motivations.
That's why I didn't hate Revenge of the Sith when I rewatched it, because I've seen all the Clone Wars. I'm like, okay, now I understand. It's not that you can save my wife that hasn't even died yet. I'll kill everyone for you. Like, it actually makes sense to why he changes. Not, you can save her. I had a bad dream. I'm scared, Mama. Like, you know, there's none of that.
We just talk about the Clone Wars.
I know.
Just talk about the Clone Wars instead.
Not now, but
I've
someday.
been rewatching all of the Clone because we're playing a Star Wars game. And because like Jedi Fallen Order had also come out recently, everything has been Star Wars around me lately. So I've had Fallen Order and then this game, and then in the meantime I was like, I should watch some Clone Wars when I'm not playing this game. So my entire week has been nothing but Star Wars.
Hey, don't forget that holiday special you watched a few weeks ago.
And the holiday special, yeah. Actually, the holiday special was what started it, to be honest.
It's all my fault. Everything's my fault.
And I hung out with a friend and we were talking about Star Wars, and then
So this game takes place at
my usual thing of going on a Force FX lightsaber and building a $700 lightsaber that I'll never buy.
So the first part of this game takes place during The Empire Strikes Back, during the Hoth scene, which is what I know a lot of people probably remember this game for, is when you go to Hoth.
Did anyone else notice that the shield generator looks like a bike rack?
Yeah. I didn't notice that.
I mean, it's just N64 graphics. It just looks bad.
I didn't realize this till
the generator part is missing from the shield generator.
Yeah,
my copy looked really nice. It was actually upscaled,
yeah. Well, I played mine on PC. Actually, we should all say what we played this on.
I think I played an N64. Was I the only one?
I played a N64 version of it. Does that count?
I've played the N64 version of this game, but for this, I played the Windows version because I think I have like all the Star Wars games. I got like a humble bundle a long ass time ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so the difference, obvious difference we should say, is that the PC version has cutscenes and the N64 version is like motion comics,
Yeah.
And it certainly was a mistake to do cutscenes.
I like the pseudo comic book, format of the N64.
Yeah,
because nobody moves their lips or anything. So
no, the N64 version, like it's like they were just doing what they could with what they had.
Right.
But it ends up being stylized and interesting. Whereas the PC version is like, hey, we can do cutscenes. Oh, they look like Fallout 1 cutscenes. This isn't good. Everyone has like rubber face.
I forgot to look them up for this game. I did see one quick scene before we did this episode, started recording, and I see what you mean, though. They do look kind of weird.
Yeah. It's like Siberia level bad.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And the voice acting, I'd say, is on par with Siberia. Oh God, they have like okay, so Luke and Leia and everybody, they're all your favorite characters are all in this game, and they bring them into this wonderful 32-bit graphic Windows 95 edition. And Luke's mouth is like wider than his face is.
Hey, but he looks more normal than he did in the holiday special, okay?
That's true. And I don't know who they got to voice act Luke.
Oh, I wrote a little note here that said I was either drunk or tired or something, but I wrote like, Luke sounds like Code Erotica dude. Steve Burnside, Code Veronica. I was tired.
Okay. I was like, what are you talking about?
It's really weird because, you know, I guess like they couldn't get Mark Hamill, but it's like, oh, we need someone to play Luke in this video game. If only we knew a talented voice actor who sounded just like Luke Skywalker.
So wait,
only we could find
I got
somebody.
a question. So, Stefan, you're telling me that Luke sounded like, Dash, what are you doing over here, Dash? Come on, let's go, save him. Something like that, what you're trying to tell me?
Basically.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Oh, boy, Dash, let's go.
One fun thing I want to say is I actually read this book like 5 years ago, thanks to Peter, who had gifted me a copy of this book.
Oh, that's right, I did, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which I don't have anymore. But I really, I borrowed it to someone I used to work with at Sam's Club, and then I quit Sam's Club, and he was going to send me the book back, and yeah.
We all know how that goes.
That's something worth pointing out about this game is that, like, this wasn't just a standalone story within, like, the Star Wars mythos. There was a ton of, like, novels and comics around Dash Rendar. Like, he's kind of, he is a developed character within the series.
Yeah. Well, if I remember, this whole project was, or from what I read, it was designed to, you know, kind of see what they could do with releasing a feature film. So they did all sorts of tie-in stuff.
Yeah.
With the comics and the novel and soundtrack and even like toys by Kenner, things like that.
Yep.
Oh yeah, there were a bunch of toys for this.
Yeah. I believe I still have Fritz Shizor's little ship, the Virago, I think it was called.
Yeah, that's correct.
And yet they still haven't made a fucking AEG 77. I just won my AEG 77. I'm just going to look at it. While we're talking about this, I'm just going to look at pictures of the AEG 77.
So,
Okay.
back in the day, most people don't realize that while Nintendo did like put a lot of licensed games and just games in general on the Nintendo 64, Shigeru Miyamoto would actually go to the studios and visit to see if some of the games were good enough to go on the 64. Sometimes he wouldn't okay them. And when he went to go visit the studio that made this game, he literally asked the team in front of him, he said, "Do you guys not take pride in your animation?" And literally like half the team wanted to quit.
That's pretty funny.
That's kind of an asshole move. I don't know. I really like the animation in this game. Okay, when I replayed this, because I played it back in the day in 64, I played this on an emulator, and I don't know if my emulator upscaled it or not, but it looked good. And then I watched a video of Pro Jared playing this right before we did this recording, just to kind of see a little bit of this game, and that was one of the videos that popped up. And it was like, okay, my emulator upscaled this game because it looked a lot better when he was playing.
See, I looked up something similar, Mike, and I clicked on the second link because I was like, I don't know if I can watch a Pro Jared video.
I know he's a piece of dirt, but I don't really. I was like, yeah, I'll watch it for. It wasn't very entertaining, so I don't understand.
I was like, I looked it up and I was like, oh, hey, awesome. First link is like 20-minute video. I was about to click on it. I was like, oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
I'll click on this second video.
I can see why people like him, because if you're 12, you're going to enjoy all the stupidity, but
we're not off to a good start.
All right.
We always are off to a good start.
Like,
I mean, that's just what the show is.
I'm surprised this game. God, I hate talking about this game because it feels like they designed two separate games and then just smushed them together. This game has a shitload of vehicle segments, and all the vehicle segments, I think everyone can agree, are great and super awesome. At least as a kid, when I played like the beginning of this game, where you're actually in an airspeeder and you're cabling the AT-ATs and going around and knocking them over. That shit's awesome.
Yes, still is fun.
And then they throw you into a third-person shooter, like walk-around environment, and it's like it doesn't feel like the same game anymore.
I didn't have a problem with it. I was smiling from grin to grin. I don't know if that makes any sense. I had a big smile on my face.
Cheek to cheek.
I couldn't think of the phrase. Cheek to cheek. Grin to grin. Who cares?
From ear to ear, I think is what you're saying.
We're gonna go with grid to grid from now on. And
I was
running around, and I had a huge smile on my face, shooting snowtroopers. And for some reason, this is just part, I don't know, this is just me. I really like the snowtrooper outfit. Like back in the 90s, at one point, I went to some convention, probably a flea market. I shouldn't say convention, some flea market, and I bought the old snowtrooper figure from the 70s. I just really like that look. For some
it's
reason.
awesome. Snowtroopers are so cool.
I don't know why. It's just, I like the snowtroopers a lot, and I enjoy shooting the hell out of them.
I always find it weird how they have white armor for snow, but when they go in the jungle, they still just keep the armor white.
Yeah.
They don't try to adapt to their surroundings in any way.
The snowtrooper outfit is they have like that longer veil around them or something. That makes no sense, right?
Yeah, in the front.
Yeah, they've got they look like Cobra Commando troopers.
Well, it's all about the brand, you know. It's got to say Empire all over it. So no matter where you are, you got to know who's occupying you.
What's funny is I would have agreed to you. I would agree with you until Rogue One came out and they had the Sand Troopers and they actually had I guess you could argue it was just the sand wearing their armor down, but the armor was actually tan and made sense for sand. And I was like, so they do understand what camo is.
This came out in '96, and back then Star Wars didn't care.
Yeah, nobody knew anything about camo in '96.
Yeah,
let's not forget.
Well, they were just basing off Empire Strikes Back, and that's what they're wearing.
You know, the whole rant about camo.
I know. I don't want you to.
I think '96 is when they started working on a multicam, which I think is the ugliest camo ever invented.
I was just gonna say that I like the walking around levels too, and I always thought the vehicle levels kind of dragged a bit.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I like the Hoth level. I think the first Hoth level is it's very structured and it's pretty amazing. Yeah, I agree. And then you get to the asteroid field and the swoop bike level. The swoop bike level is fun, but I just
boy.
when you get any to the higher difficulties, if you so choose, if you go a little bit too fast, you're gonna die all the time, crashing.
See, I would agree with Stu. I think that most of them are pretty good. That speed bike one, though, no.
Yeah, it's bad.
So annoying.
It doesn't even make sense either.
That was the first level I failed because I thought I had to race them, so I'm racing them. I'm not crashing anybody. I get to the end of the level, and I'm like, oh, I was supposed to be killing them.
It looks kind of like you're holding a fork in front of you if you're the first person.
It's so bad. But, I mean, and that speeder bike wasn't even in these original movies because the speeder bike on Endor is a different bike than what they have in here.
It's a swoop bike.
It's a swoop bike.
And the swoop bike wasn't even in the New Hope back then. I mean, it is now, but it wasn't back then.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. No, it was the swoop bikes that they were working off of was essentially a speeder bike that just looked a little different.
Yep.
Yeah. I believe they're in the Mandalorian episode 5, if I'm not mistaken.
They are.
Oh, really?
And there also was a toy back in the Shadow of the Empire swoop bike that I had. That came a little red guy.
Right.
I just thought swoop bikes were cool.
I like
Even
remembering
before Phantom Menace, I thought swoop bikes were cool.
I like remembering old toys I bought in the 90s about Star Wars.
They had great toys. I believe they might have done an Outrider toy. In fact, they might have had a big model. Yeah,
I'm sure they did. I mean, I have as I've been around to different comic book stores and things, I have seen Shadow of the Empire branded toys, which just so cool still.
Yeah, it's one of those funny things to me where people love so much about Shadows of the Empire and Dash Rendar's adjacent things. People love the Outrider, people love the swoop bike that was in there. Clearly they love the fucking swoop bike because 2 years later it was in the Phantom Menace is a huge part of the movie.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Phantom Menace, Shizor actually appears in the pod racing scene.
He does?
Yeah, he's in the background walking up some stairs.
There's a bunch of people in that. If you go back and watch that pod racing scene, you can watch a breakdown of it. There are so many characters hidden in that pod racing segment that are actual characters within the other stories. That just never really get mentioned again.
Is in there.
Aura Singh is in there. Quinlan Voss is in there undercover. Actually, he's the Jedi with the dreadlocks.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Is he wearing a cloak?
Yeah, he's wearing a cloak and a long black. He was undercover at the time.
That's right.
He was just he happened to be in that scene, and then they made him a Jedi, and they were like, "Oh yeah!" And there was a huge story. I think it was in Clone. It was either in Clone Wars or one of the comics where he's talking to Mace Windu, and he's like, he feels really bad that he didn't help Qui-Gon Jinn because he didn't realize Qui-Gon Jinn was in trouble and he was undercover, so he couldn't do much.
Oh.
He was just like, hey, that's that Jedi Master that I know. Oh, I wish I could help him, but I can't.
I feel like that's just them trying to retcon stuff. They were just throwing everybody in and like, hey, this would make a good, cool toy.
That's the entire point of like the Clone Wars and all the prequel comics is we just need to find a way to retcon everything to make it good. And to their credit, they succeeded. Quinlan Vos was just like a random extra in that scene. And Quinlan Vos, I think, is one of the coolest stories in the Clone Wars show and extended universe.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
He was a Jedi that went undercover with like the Separatists and was spying on them for the Republic. And like at some point he started falling to the dark side and he had to keep like fighting with Mace Windu, and he learned Mace Windu's fighting style on his own, which that's a whole thing to go into. The whole like Mace Windu fighting style that like actively pushes you towards the dark side.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
also correct one thing real quick. We kept saying Outrider. It's called the Outlander.
No, it's the Outrider.
I believe it's Outlander.
I can't tell if you're joking.
I believe, isn't that the Stars TV show now in season 4?
It really, well, I'm looking at it.
Outlander is like the World War II drama on Stars. It's got
I do have a question for you guys. I'm going to take back over. And I got to say, though, that when you fight the AT-ST, the first boss in this game, that is still a fucking cool fight. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if people are like, oh, it's stupid. Like, I still enjoyed it. I still smiled. And I thought of Mandalorian now, too, after that. There's a comment. But it is such a cool freaking fight. Even though it's just is still. I still had fun.
Yeah,
what do you guys think of that fight?
First coming across it, and whenever I first played it, it was just so unexpected to see it there. I mean, you guess you knew it was going to be a boss, but it's like, oh no, now I have to fight this. And I remember not succeeding the first few times.
Well, I thought it was funny because it was like the AT-ST is the boss and not the AT-ATs.
Well,
the AT-AT would have just been squish.
Yeah. It's just like all these AT-ATs, and it's like, and the boss, the AT-ST, a smaller version of this thing you've destroyed.
I mean, but think about it. If you were an infantry soldier and you're fighting a giant tank that's like 40 feet tall with 2 lasers pointing at you that can take your blaster rifles, that's a boss. Like, it's just because you're not in a vehicle. You're not like you can just blast it. I mean, unless you're going to get lucky and throw a grenade into the eye of where the cockpit, you're not going to blow it up. Or drop it down a hole.
I'm just running off of my recency bias of playing Fallen Order, and the whole AT-AT section of that game is so cool. I have to climb up an AT-AT and take it over and blow up the other ones.
I really want to play that game.
It's so good.
All right. And
I like how you just said something super erotic, Mike. You're the eye of the cockpit.
I liked all the, like I said, I liked all the vehicles. Like I liked piloting the snowspeeder. I always thought any game that lets you pilot the snowspeeder and take out AT-ATs, I'm all for. And then when you have to take out the AT-ST, I was like, all right, cool, we're doing this now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's still fun. I mean, I thought these first 2 levels still hold up amazing. I had no problem with these first 2 levels. I even enjoyed one thing we
over and over again as a kid. That's how much I liked them.
Really good. And also, I didn't know this, but apparently there's a deleted scene of Empire Strikes Back. Maybe I'm wrong in this. You guys can correct me if I am. That they were supposedly where Wampas are locked behind a door. It wasn't included. Okay, yes. And then in this level, there's a scene where you go into a room and you unlock a bunch of Wampas, and I just shot him for the hell of it.
Yeah. It's a deleted scene of Empire Strikes Back. It's really funny. It's just so out of place. Like, I understand why they took it out because it's so out of place. Where Darth Vader is walking around the Hoth base after everybody else has left, and some troopers are standing by a door, and one of the troopers clicks a button on the side. The door opens. You see a Wampa hand come out and grab him and drag him in, and the door closes. Darth Vader walks up, looks at the door, looks at the troopers, looks at the door, and walks away.
The hell?
Yeah, it's so out of place, but he's just like, I'm not dealing with that shit.
Well, in all honesty, that fits Vader because he really wouldn't give a shit.
He's just like, this is your problem, deal with it. Yeah, he just doesn't give a single shit. It's so funny.
He's not a nice person. So,
I mean, it's just like, you can tell they're like, how can we kill stormtroopers in the most comical ways?
I did like that fact that it had that reference in here.
I like how
So-
the game is divided up too. I like that the game itself is divided up kind of like a book where you got like part 1, part 2.
Yeah.
I wonder where they got that idea from.
Right, the
Well,
books.
the Hoff stuff wasn't really in the novel, if I remember.
I don't.
I
can't
believe
remember
it
the
started right as Empire ended. Yeah. So they just were like, I believe it just were like, we have to add something actiony at the beginning of this book or the beginning of this game, and so they did Hoff.
It worked. I mean, it really brings you in. I mean, that was one of the big selling points of this game back in the day, was showing off that scene. I remember
Yeah.
being at Toys R Us, rest in peace, Toys R Us, and it would have that level playing on the N64 demo, and that's what everybody would be playing when you walk by.
You gotta get back to the Outrider, then you meet Lebo, who I hate.
The droid?
Yeah, I just think he's annoying.
He doesn't do anything.
It's kind of cool.
I generally am annoyed by those droids whenever they're in any scene of any like Star Wars media, aside from one episode of the Clone Wars where like Ahsoka's helping the younglings build some lightsabers, and that droid is played by David Tennant, and it's like the lightsaber creation droid that helps them all. It's really fun. But other than that, I fucking hate that like LEDO droid or whatever it's called, the LE series.
I can't even remember him because I mean, he mainly just talks to you here and there, and I would just hit start so he'd go away, and I can continue shooting things.
He's
So,
the
I didn't care.
okay, what's the rabbit from Star Fox? Why can't I remember his name?
Happy hair?
Peppy Hair, yeah,
Peppy
he's like the
O'Hare.
Peppy Hair of this game.
Okay, I'll give it to you. We didn't shoot anybody, but I'll give it to
He
you.
just kind of
And
annoys
there's-
you with stuff, and every now and again
You
messages.
gotta do
Yeah.
this, Dash.
He takes over, and I can't do anything until I hit start, and he goes away. I mean, I don't think there's much to say about the asteroid level, other than it's just a shooter level on
Mhm.
rails.
It's very
Yeah.
arcade-like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's
John
like-
Williams' music though is really good.
Yeah. Well, I
Oh.
love the music, except apparently there's an issue with the PC game. I don't know if either Mike or Stefan had this problem, but sometimes on the PC version, the music just cuts out.
Oh no,
Yeah.
that's okay. So it's on a loop, and after the loop plays, it pauses before it starts over again.
Mine never started over again, so it would play once and then end, and then that was it.
Oh, for me, I actually played this game with the music just blaring because I love it. Like I said, I had a smile from grin to grin, as I was doing this.
I played this game with other Star Wars music playing. whenever Star Wars music would play in the Clone Wars, I turned it up. So I would have something to listen to while playing this. But so much of this game was just quiet for me.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed listening to it and all the shooting. I normally don't play with sound effects, but I really liked it in this game.
Oh, I
There
had
was-
so many audio issues. Like even like characters' lines would be cut off. Like the very last word they'd say would never make it in. So it'd be like, "That's right, Dad." I was like, "Okay."
You were saying,
my-
Peter?
I was saying one of my main points of criticism is that when you fall off a cliff, there's no like Wilhelm scream. Like if you remember Dark
Oh.
Horses, when you fell off a giant chasm, you go, yeah. But this
The
they
thing I
don't
love
do
about
that.
Fallen
Just-
Order is that like all the stormtroopers have comical lines and shit. Every Star
I mean,
Wars
just-
game needs that in my mind.
The stormtroopers yell when you shoot them off a cliff.
They do,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes,
Yeah, so there's that.
It's not the Wilhelm scream though.
yeah.
No, I want to say Dash screams if you jump off a cliff.
Yeah, but it's not
No.
the Will.
I don't think
Alright.
I didn't hear it.
And N64
I did.
Right, doesn't.
As I loaded, and he jumped back right where he was before he jumped off the cliff.
Um,
he does.
Speaking of cliffs, the cliffs. Okay, so there's a level where you have to run through these cliff canyons, and
Y'all spaceport.
and that place. And I literally died. This is where I died the most in the whole entire game. I had died at least 10 times on those fucking cliffs because Dash Rendar, for whatever reason, is like an oil slick on an iceberg when it comes to fucking sand cliffs.
Yep.
I swear to God.
Yeah, this is a problem on
His jump is a little delayed too at times. I feel like.
His jump is retarded.
It's pretty bad. It's very
Yeah.
well. You might be interested to know that the director of this game was the same guy who directed the creation of Star Wars Dark Forces. So
Well, so the chasms make sense. He was like, more chasms. I want more chasms.
we need more chasms and we need more skating throughout the world.
Yes. There were no ice cleats in this game, though, so I was more
That-
disappointed.
God, that's the most useless item ever.
Yeah, the controls are definitely wonky. And N64 certainly, if you're like facing the wrong way, you could get stuck, and Dastrodon's going to be walking around with like a crick in his neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has issues. And, I mean, I thought I didn't have too much of a problem with the controls. Like I didn't mind the fact that there's no real aiming in this game. You just have to hope he locks onto your target and you shoot it.
Mhm.
That didn't bother me. Like I was okay with that. I know some people have a problem with it, but I didn't.
I would say probably the greatest mechanic in this game that it seemed like they probably put a lot of time into, and the most badass is the jetpack you get.
Oh,
Oh
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
That makes
Jetpack.
all the walking segments way better.
My
Well, they take it
favorite
away
part of
from
the
you.
game.
Yeah, they just take it away from you, the bastards.
They bring it
Yes,
back.
Yeah, for a
At some
swamp
point,
or a sewer.
Yeah, at some point there's a underwater section of this game, or a swimming section of this game, which is very odd. Any like pre 2002 water section is just like horrible generally.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when
Oh,
you get that jetpack, you can actually go underwater with the jetpack. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
this is doable. I'll do this. This
That's
is
for a
broken, but
big
in a way
fight.
that works.
It's a
So-
space
For a
jetpack.
big fight.
It's a space jetpack. It works
So
underwater.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mentioned this a long time ago on an old episode, but this game, when you fight the underwater boss in this game, that is the boss that made me hate to fight bosses underwater. It scared the shit out of me when I was a
Yes.
child.
The giant Diagnoga.
Looks like a
Oh.
ball sack.
That's pretty close to what it is.
It's weird. It's like a big pancake with a giant sarlacc mouth in the middle of it.
Yeah,
And
I prefer his version of it.
I
than
know.
yours.
a ball sack sarlacc.
It's true.
It
I
sounds like
still like Peter's definition of that boss better than both of yours.
ball sack sarlacc is my next punk band. I'm gonna start.
He just keeps going with the joke. But I do want to go back to the golf spaceport we were talking about earlier. One thing about the cliffs that I liked that I remembered back when I used to play as a Peter back in the day is there's a fucking mountain wampa up there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No purpose. I just went and got him and shot him just because I wanted to kill him, but he serves actually no purpose. But I thought that was cool. They have that in there.
Yeah. They just put that there. I believe the developers had like an in-joke with wampas because there's a lot of references to them. There's a code that you enter your username as Wampa Stampa, you'll be able to play as enemies during some of the levels. And also there's another code you can put in where at the end credits you will see Wampa subtitles like the fake subtitles in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So it'll say like my sister was bitten by a Wampa once and stuff like that.
It's like a
And it'll
Wampa
just keep
sticky.
going throughout the credits. Yeah.
Oh,
So they
miss
must
wanna
the
see this now.
codes like that.
If you Google it, you'll see it. And yeah.
I have to do that.
And I think
I
there's
mean,
there's a line of text too where if you enter it in just a wall of text that says baby wampas, it's like 40 things saying baby wampas. It's really funny.
I feel like Wampa Stampa was also a code in Rogue Squadron 64.
I think you're right about that.
Probably was.
Yeah.
It's a great name.
It's pretty good. Wampa Stompa,
I mean-
also a great band name.
Good username probably.
Oh yeah,
Probably with many people's username back then or all sorts of things, I'm sure.
it's
Oh,
gonna be
but-
my new clan tag on Halo. I'm gonna go back in and change it to Wampa Stompa.
Or Bantha
also,
Stew.
I forgot about that.
I was laughing at that Bantha Stew.
Also a good clan tag name for me.
Yeah. All right,
You have
and
to
then
change it now from the
I
Ayusha
did-
clan.
I did love that boss fight of Galport. It pissed me off a little bit, but I thought it was still so damn cool. First, you got to fight Boba Fett, and you're both flying around in your jetpacks in
Yeah.
like a big towery open area. That was a fun fight.
Yeah. You're like, okay, I defeated him. There's
And then I
nothing more to
killed
do,
him,
right?
and then I was upset.
I actually spit out my soda when I took out Boba Fett because I forgot you have to fight Slave 1 right afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like, oh
Me too.
shit, Slave 1.
I'm like, oh, he's gonna fly away, and I'm like, what? And Slave One started shooting me. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's an epic level because I believe you do fight an ATST before that too.
Yes,
Call
you have
Space
to
Force.
fight one again, and
It's like a
it's
three-part
harder.
level. Yeah.
The second fight in the ATST was they made it harder, and you had one of the problems is if you shoot its legs, like many enemies in this game or bosses at least, if you shoot at a certain spot, you'll hurt it, but it does very little damage. You have to hit them in certain spots to really do maximum damage.
That might be a good time since we're since we're at the part where they basically introduce the big antagonist of the game to explain the two characters.
Oh yeah.
He still haven't really explained who Dash Rendar is, and we haven't talked at all about Prince.
He explained
Sizor.
Dash, a clone of Solo. That's not really a clone. He's a mercenary that worked with Han Solo. He was hired to bring supplies to Hoth. That's why he's at Hoth, and then he keeps working with them. Like earlier we had mentioned, the reason why he stopped the swoop bike because he was hired by Leia to protect Luke, and the swoop bike members find out that Luke is hanging out at Ben Kenobi's old hideout, so they go there to go kill him. Which, of course, Luke can't handle 10 swoop bike people because he only fought Vader. But
this is the thing that I hate about Dash Rendar. I hate Dash Rendar so much. Dash Rendar it makes sense for a kid's game. I see what they were trying to do because it makes total sense. But Dash Rendar is what most kids' idea of what character they would be in Star Wars is. But no one wants that in Star Wars. Like, if I play a Star Wars game, I don't want to play as, like Stuart the Jedi. I want to play as fucking Luke. I want to play as, like, a character that's, like, well-written and interesting, not, like, a fanfic character that they put in there.
That's a good... Oh, and the reason why they're going to go get Luke, which we haven't really mentioned yet, is after Empire Strikes Back, Vader's trying to capture Luke, but Prince Xizor, the big villain of this game, has told bounty hunters to kill Luke, and he'll pay them double what Vader's paying them.
Okay,
or more, something like that.
Well, you're close. So Xizor is seeking revenge on Vader because Vader took out all the people on his planet.
Yeah.
In an accident. And like now Xizor is the third strongest asshole in the universe because he's running Black Sun. Mm-hmm. So he thinks by killing Luke, he can make Vader look foolish in the eyes of the Emperor, and then he can take out the Emperor and rule.
It's possible one of my biggest complaints with this game is that the Black Suns are all over it, and Xizor's working with the Vigos, and yet the AG-77 Vigo never shows up in the game. Literally their ship of choice, but whatever.
I forgot all that because I haven't played this. I played this before we recorded Abe's Odyssey. I know I can't talk right now.
I hate Dash Rendar so much though. He's like,
he's
I
cool.
have to mention this because it's so important that people understand how annoying he is to me. He is like, not only is he what everyone would want to be in the character, we're like, I want to be Han Solo, but cooler and have like more armor on. And Luke is my best friend, and Princess Leia has a crush on me. And Han Solo is like jealous of me. Like, that is legitimately his character. Like, Luke is like, oh, thank God you were here, Dash. I couldn't have survived without you.
And you too, Claire.
It's that level of annoyance, yeah. It's if Steve wrote a Star Wars game. That's what this fucking game is. If Steve Burnside wrote a Star Wars game, and Princess Leia like secretly loves me, and Han Solo's a nerd.
I have an important question. When did Leia have a crush on Dash? Is that in the book?
Yeah, like it's a whole thing.
Or you just made this up?
As far as I remember, they originally had planned for Xizor to have pheromones come out of his body that would enslave Leia. Yeah. And then they were gonna do it or whatever.
It's just like you need to have some kind of tension in a game where, like, the only
I think
is Princess Leia.
Peter could probably better describe what you just brought up about Prince Reptile guy.
That's honestly pretty good. It's been 20 years since I read the book. I do remember he had like a pheromone chamber or something where he or he had like a muscle chamber that like exercises muscles. Then his pheromones were naturally released or something like that. Or I don't know.
How do you God, it's hard to describe Xizor too, because he's such a weird character. Again, he's like a fan fiction character where he's like Jafar from Aladdin, I think. He's got like a Palpatine thing going on where he's super rich, and it's like he's like as smart as Palpatine, but he definitely has a Jafar thing going on with him too.
Yeah, because this whole like he's on Coruscant with the Emperor.
Coruscant.
Yeah. And
you've done this to me so many times, Mike. It's Coruscant.
Like he does talk with the Emperor. He's trying to work with the Emperor and become his right-hand man instead of Vader.
Yeah.
He's the green reptile guy that you probably had saw a figure of at some point in the 90s when you were looking at Star Wars toys.
His face is on the cover.
Not even joking. He legitimately looks like Piccolo from the live-action Dragon Ball movie.
Well, he actually is a fish person, and I thought he looked like Abe, honestly.
Yeah, he's got that tail on the back of his head. It's not a mohawk. It's a tail.
He is literally a fish person. He's part of the Abe Odyssey family.
He's if Abe Odyssey had sex with live-action Piccolo. and their son was G-Sor. But again, it's
Okay.
like it's such a fan fiction character of like, well, who's your bad guy? Oh, Palpatine's like, well, Palpatine's already a character. Oh, well, this is like cooler Palpatine, and he's got like a crime lord that like he works as a crime lord, and he's smarter and he's richer than Palpatine was, so like he's cooler. I just hate the fucking writing in this game.
This is fan fiction now. You're welcome.
Oh god, those early Star Wars books are they're something.
One level that I do want to get back to talk more about Prince Caesar and what happened later in this game,
Right.
but we skipped the train level.
Dash Render are so cool.
I remember the train level being awesome. It still is.
You
I
do?
still really like that level.
Really?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Too.
You did
I
like it?
enjoy it too.
It's such a slowdown after you get off Hoth, you go to the train section. I thought it was like so slow comparatively, where I was like, okay, like we're really taking our time getting through this train section.
Well, I mean, it's an auto scroller, and you got to jump from train to train, and they're talking, and your favorite robot's talking to you. So no wonder you hated it.
That's probably what it is.
He's like, "Don't talk to me again."
I do like that they had IG-88 in there as like a more of an important character.
I was just about to say, does anyone else have that feeling like it's kind of like Boba Fett, where you like IG-88 but you don't know why? Is it just because he looks cool?
Well,
Yes.
he had one scene in Empire Strikes Back when they show all the bounty hunters,
Yeah.
and then he's in this game. He gets blown up by Dash Rendar, which at the time was canon, and then that's the end of him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But he does look cool.
IG-88 kind of like sucks in this game as a character, just because he's like goading you on. It's just like,
Yeah.
and he's really dumb. Where there's legitimately one of the lines is he is like computing your odds of survival. He's like, well, I see you have a 0% odds of survival, so there's no reason not for me to monologue right now and tell you exactly where Boba Fett is. Like, he's a fucking robot. Like, he would just kill you.
Well, he's a killer droid. Is he programmed or something by somebody to be a bounty hunter? Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, he was an assassin. So I love IG-88. I think he's in many ways cooler than Boba Fett. He's certainly cooler than fucking Dengar.
Oh yeah.
Man. IG-88 was a assassin droid that was used by other bounty hunters until he killed his owners and became like his own individual bounty hunter.
I gotta say though, like that scene in Empire Strikes Back where it has all the bounty hunters is still one of my favorite scenes. At least when I was a kid, one of my favorite scenes of Star Wars. I remember thinking all of them were so damn cool. I don't
they're
anymore.
great, except for Dengar.
But well, Forlom and Zuck is the screw them. But I like Dengar. I got no problem with Dengar.
I love Dengar is my favorite character in the Robot Chicken version of Star Wars, where Dengar is just like an annoying asshole that hangs out with the bounty hunters and they all kind of hate him. He's just like, hey guys, it's Dengar here. Like, I bet you didn't expect to see Dengar. That's right, I'm here too.
If I recall. Yeah.
If I recall, that was Palpatine. It was like Palpatine's like sister, or is a sister of somebody who Palpatine knew. It was like, okay, we'll invite him along.
Palpatine's cousin.
Yeah, Palpatine's cousin.
Cousin-in-law.
Yeah.
He flies a toilet. They just go all out with the toilet paper. He flies a giant space toilet.
Well, if you like IG-88, in The Mandalorian, they have an IG robot fight. So
Ooh.
I thought it was IG-88, and then I'm
It
like,
was.
that's not IG-88.
it was like
I
IG-49
really thought it was.
or something. You know?
I like IG-88's bit in Star Wars Robot Chicken as well, where he's got like there's a bounty hunter party and they're all hanging out. I'm just gonna be explaining plots of Robot Chicken now. And he's like, hey guys, and they're like, hey IG-88. He's like, I hope it's okay that I brought my cousin THX-1138. It does the whole fucking like noise. All the glass breaks and everyone's holding their ears.
The hell's an aluminum falcon?
I'm just gonna have to watch Robot Chicken now.
I'm surprised you haven't. We
Well-
talked about it before this episode on the show not too long ago too.
I am just constantly thinking about the Robot Chicken Star Wars specials.
Yeah, they're great.
That was like when I can't remember what Star Wars game it was. It might have been like Attack of the Clones game when it came out on Xbox Live way back in the day. Remember when Xbox Live used to have like videos to download too? Like you could watch like The Guild, I think, was on Xbox, and like Red versus Blue, and they also had, for whatever reason, you could get the Star Wars Robot Chicken specials for free. And so I just downloaded all three of those and I watched those constantly on Xbox.
Oh wow.
I do not remember this.
Thing that it was a really weird thing that no one knew about, which is why Xbox Live stopped doing videos for the longest time.
Oh, and we should mention the dumbest. At least I think was the dumbest level in this game. It's before you go to the sewers, but after you rescue Luke, because Luke needs rescuing. You go to the Imperial freighter, and I think don't they say you're stealing the Death Star plans in this Imperial freighter?
Or,
yeah,
you're stealing, quote unquote, important construction plans. They don't actually say Death Star.
Oh, okay. I thought they actually said Death Star plans.
No, it's just heavily implied that it's the Death Star plans.
There's no boss.
I don't know. Damn it! You took my joke.
You were. Okay, we'll cut it out. We'll start over.
No, your joke's better. We'll go.
Technically, it's not the Death Star, Mike. This is Empire Strikes Back. It's the Death Star 2.
Did they actually call it the Death Star 2? Don't they just call it the Death Star?
They call it the Death Star Mark 2.
Wow. I never knew that. I have watched that movie for over 20 years, and I never knew that.
Movie.
They don't say
Oh.
it. I think in the movie they call it like the second Death Star.
Mark 2?
It was the Death Star Mark 2 or the DS2.
You don't believe the kind of loan I had to take out to get it.
We're just making robot chicken jokes now.
Hey,
blow it up. No, I'm not
this
angry.
level, this level upset me too. Because you don't have the jetpack anymore,
and it'd be perfect with it, right? Because you have that
small level.
Yeah, well, there's the one part at the end where you have to move the crates, move the doors to the crates.
Yeah.
God, this was the worst puzzle in the whole fucking game. Fuck that puzzle.
I started my game
just to give you a box.
I started to level over because I thought I fucked up and blew up a crate I had to jump on, and I watched it, and I'm like, what the hell to do? I watched the video, and I went, oh, I got to open these switches. I'm like, they don't even look like switches.
No, yeah, it's tough if you don't know what's going on. Because you just want to blow up the boxes, and you're like, well, I'm done.
Yeah, so if anyone's never played this game, basically what it is there's like 6 panels on the wall.
Right.
And on each side of you, there's 3 doors on 3 different levels, and each panel opens up a different one. And inside of one has a staircase that leads up to a top one to get out of the room.
Thank you.
Which fucking annoying.
It's a puzzle that would make sense in Tomb Raider, the one we just played, but in Star Wars, it just it's so different to everything you've been doing up to this point. It's like, why am I doing this? Why?
Yeah.
Where's my jetpack?
I mean, even the boss fight is stupid in this level because you're trying to get you have to open up a force field to get your ship to dock. You have to fight a loader droid. I want to say a loader droid should not be a boss fight. It should be, okay, I shot it, taken care of, let's go. Like, it's an actual boss fight.
Part 3 is easily the weakest part of this game.
Yeah.
As a whole.
I didn't care for it.
And you gotta save Luke because he's your best friend and he thinks you're the coolest. You're the only one that can save Luke. Han and Leia are apparently busy.
Well, Han is in Carbon Knight. Leia, which we haven't talked about yet, this is actually the game where this explains how she gets that awesome costume that she wears in Return of the Jedi when she goes to Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
Is it called Bosk?
No, Bosk is
wrong.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Oh shit! Bosk is the alien reptile guy, a bounty hunter. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. But he's the Trandoshan bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Yes. I killed lots of Trandoshans when I played.
Bosch by Calvin Klein. Coming out.
That's another robot chick.
Hieronymus Bosch, I think that's
Hieronymus Bosk.
That's gotta be. I gotta Google that.
That's definitely a thing, right?
Never know. Okay, but Luke is with you. Like, he flies with you to the.
Yeah.
You go inside the thing and he's like flying around.
I'll fly around.
Remember?
I think he just flies away, or something like that.
You couldn't have Bosk in this game because didn't you kill him in Dark Forces?
You killed lots of him.
Hey, let's not be racist and call them Bosks, all right?
That's actually an issue we had when we played Dark Forces.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
And I couldn't say the word Trandoshan. I've had a lot of trouble with that episode.
Yeah.
Sound like I had oral surgery or something.
Well, what do we think about the sewer level? I mean, when I was a kid, I always thought the Dianogas were kind of creepy because you'd hear their roar or whatever, and then you would look around in vain trying to find them. And with the foggy N64, you couldn't always see them right away. So
yeah, they are creepy.
Yeah, they're really creepy.
Yeah, just like a flying spider or a floating spider coming towards you.
They actually show up in, I don't know why, but they show up in the Force Awakens Lego game for some reason. Even though they weren't in that movie. but they're in the game.
Well, just put everything you can in the Lego stuff. Why not?
I liked how I was looking up like all the characters and everything, and just so everyone is aware, the Lego games are considered non-canon. I don't know why a separate note had to be written for that. Obviously, they're non-canon.
Yeah, because they came out after everything is considered canon. I get, but again, you shouldn't need that. I agree.
I just read like a whole article of like how the Lego games aren't canon, and I was like, who is this for?
Well, if I remember correctly, when I saw the Lego Movie 2, they do mention like, oh, Marvel and Disney aren't taking our calls anymore.
Yeah. I still haven't seen the second Lego movie.
Now, is that so? That means the question: is that Energizer Bunny commercial with Darth Vader? Is that canon? So,
yes, that is canon.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that takes place right after Empire Strikes Back.
Right after Luke escapes.
It's what he was doing while waiting for Han Solo to get back to the.
But as Peter was mentioning earlier, like when you do go to the sewer part, I think that's really interesting because it's missing. It doesn't really, or if it did, I didn't read it because I didn't read any of the text in this game. I just played. And that's like where Dash is infiltrating through the sewers. At the same point, Luke is dressed up as one of the Red Imperial Guards to infiltrate the palace. Leia goes in the outfit we were talking about and then gets kind of captured by Zizor with his pheromones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Chewbacca, which I completely forgot about this, but as we were talking, I've been looking up screenshots and I found an awesome picture of Chewbacca as a bounty hunter. I do not remember this toy.
Yeah. And
that
Luke in that red armor looks so out of place. I gotta say, it just looks weird.
But also, I just want to talk about the Chewbacca, where he has like a flat top. He has like a little like eye guard, like he thinks he's Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid 4. He's got like armor on his chest. He just looks badass. I do not remember this toy at all. Now I kind of want it. I don't really like Chewbacca.
This is like such a small nitpicky thing to pick up about this, but the red stormtrooper armor, the Imperial Guard, like they are the Emperor's personal guard. So I don't know why Zizor has a bunch of them.
Well, no, these are Caesar's guards, right? The red. I mean, the red Imperial Guard you're thinking of are the ones that are in the movies that are Palpatine. These aren't Palpatine's guards, right?
Yeah,
these are Zizor's guards who are just dressed up to, like they're basically, in terms of the game, they're like, hey, that's cool. We should have that in our game. So Zizor has red guards.
Yeah, their helmets look more like something from Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Fun fact, too, if you watch those toy commercials, the voice narrating is Mark Hamill.
Is it really? So they got him to do the commercial for the toys from the game, but they couldn't get him in the game.
Yeah, he's just doing a weird, deep voice. It's so bizarre.
Maybe that was like his first like ever voice acting. He was like, hey, I kind of like this.
Hey, you want to be the Joker?
All right.
Because did Batman come out before this?
Yeah, no, it was before. Yeah, it's do a little joke right there.
Mm-hmm.
A little Joker.
I got that part, but I kind of think like,
which came first? Mark Hamill Joker or Mark Hamill? Was it the Trickster? Is that it?
I think the Trickster did in the early 90s or late 80s, right?
Yeah, that's earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when he was in that disguised armor, he was certainly a big red one, don't you think?
The only reason I've never watched any fucking DC TV show. I apologize to everyone who loves those shows. I've never watched like Arrow or The Flash or anything. I just know that Mark Hamill played the Trickster in The Flash, and I want to watch just that episode, or just the episodes with him in it.
Flash is really good, but that's neither here nor there. But it's really good.
Just a little aside. I like Mark Hamill.
Okay, he was right. The name of that is Imperial Guard disguise. I'm looking at the toy right now. So I guess they were Imperial Guards, but
okay, yeah, I was right.
I thought they were Scissor's Men. We were wrong. We got to
they were right now. Guards.
Well, I mean, wasn't it like the Emperor's Royal Guard or something? Isn't the Imperial Guard could just be like a guard who's an Imperial?
They're like the Sith Honor Guard, is what they're called.
Yeah,
but for I guess it could be like Prince Zizor was like, I'm cool, I am important, I'm gonna get my own Imperial Guards and
well, like, all right,
blackjack and hookers.
He was powerful. Like that's one thing I thought was very interesting that they talk about in this is that he's very freaking powerful. Like I think we mentioned earlier, like one of the third most powerful people around.
Mm-hmm.
He controls the crime
he's
syndicate.
Just a clone of like early Palpatine. So
what?
Yeah, he's just Palpatine. He's just Palpatine before Palpatine became the Emperor.
I think
can't tell
basically
if you're making a joke or
No, I'm not. He is Palpatine before Palpatine became the Emperor. It's like the same character where he's like really rich and he has all this political.
Yeah, he's not literally the clone.
Yeah, he's not literally the clone of
are-
Palpatine. There is a clone of Palpatine, but that's like a whole other thing.
Yeah, okay. I get what you mean. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, Palpatine was a senator, and then he... Yeah,
In the
okay.
same way that Dash Rendar is the clone of Han Solo, but cooler and Luke's his best friend. Prince Xizor is early Emperor Palpatine, but cooler and he hates Darth Vader. And
All
he
right. I mean, I really did...
And he gets pheromones.
I tried to read the comic for this, and I got about 3 issues in out of the 6th issue, and I was just done. I was like, fuck this. I could not read the comic.
Like, say...
I know there's people out there who like it.
There's a lot more Boba Fett in the comics.
Yeah. I'd say what you will about, like, the prequels. The prequels were responsible for, like, a bunch of comics and novels and Star Wars stuff outside of the movies all of a sudden getting really, really good.
I just got to say, the 2 prequel movies, the first and the third one, are really good movies. It's too bad they only made 2 and they just skipped number 2. But 1 and 3 are not that bad. 1 is a great movie. 3 is pretty good.
1 is a good movie. I'm going to take you up on 3 being a bad movie there.
It's okay.
It's awful. But
I'm going to take both of you up on either one of them being a good or bad movie. They're just not
Phantom Menace has its moments. Phantom Menace has some... Go back and watch the fucking pod racing. And I turned into a child. Go back and watch the pod racing, Stefan.
I think we'd all agree
really cool.
that Phantom Menace is better than Rogue One, so...
Okay, if anyone out there like hates Rogue One to the point that you are willing to say that any of the prequel movies are better than it, you don't check your fucking priorities there, buddy.
You're on a podcast with someone that thinks Phantom Menace is better than Rogue One.
You are wrong.
Yes, I do.
Just from a technical level, Rogue One is way more competent as a movie than Phantom Menace.
Yes, but I enjoy Phantom Menace more. And I finish Phantom Menace with a smile. When I finish Rogue One, I want to pour a beer and start crying. So Phantom Menace went higher in the list.
Which of the horrendously racist characters in Phantom Menace was your favorite? was it
I know
stereotype, the Jewish stereotype, where they just forgot how to make aliens, and so George Lucas was like, they're fucking their caricatures.
What if you made them like Asians?
What if he was Jewish?
Gotta make it a bigger nose.
What if
Rick?
He was like really
he likes
Jewish.
funny.
Everyone around George Lucas going like, what? It's like, no, more Jewish. Like, more Jewish. Like, I don't think that we're allowed to. No, don't do it. Okay. Like poetry.
I mean, that's a prime example of what happens when no one's telling you no at the prequels.
Well, you guys are forgetting the common rule that, they're like poetry.
Yeah.
They rhyme.
Right.
All right. I think we should go back to what we're actually supposed to be talking about in this episode. Okay. And we were mentioning a little bit of the sewers. I actually like the underwater thing that we had brought up before. It doesn't feel like you're underwater because you just use the jetpack and fly out, and it uses less power underwater for some reason. Mm-hmm. And the Dianogas are kind of
less drag when you're in thicker water than air. Yes. Yeah. Space. It's like Peter said, it's a space jetpack.
Yeah.
I didn't mind. I know you were talking about the ball sack Dianoga monster earlier. I like that fight.
Ball sack Sarlacc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought it was happy.
Ball sack Sarlacc is actually the first song on the album by the Wappa Stompers.
I can't tell if you're joking or not.
I'm gonna have to make this happen at this point. If anyone out there plays an instrument, wants to be in a punk band called the Wappa Stompers and have one song, hit me up.
I know a guy who plays an instrument. On the podcast.
I can barely play guitar.
I don't remember what weapons you have at this point, but I think you might have like one disruptor, which is the big green one. And if you use that on the Dianoga, that like is a perfect weapon for destroying that thing.
Okay, I actually had a question about this. So when you guys played the N64 version, like when you fought a boss, because when I remember playing it back in the day, it would take at least it would take a shit ton of hits from your from anything to kill anything. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the PC version, I could hit any boss with 5 pulse shots and they'd be dead.
Oh,
is that different? I
think that's different.
And maybe N64 is different because it takes a long time.
I assume that when it was released for PC, in addition to adding the cutscenes, there was we'll just make some quick mechanical balancing changes too.
Yeah, because I took out every single boss: Boba Fett, Slave 1, the AT, ST. I took them all out in like 5 shots.
I remember having trouble with this game on the 64, and
Yeah.
I didn't have any trouble with it this time. And I'm glad you said that because I couldn't remember. I couldn't tell if it was like, oh, I'm just an adult that understands video games now, or if it was just easier than when I played it on 64.
Like my skills have advanced as a gamer.
Yeah.
They have. I believe that.
Well, mine have because I was like 5 when I played this.
Oh yeah.
I think forgetting your
They've
baby
definitely advanced.
But okay, so
Yeah.
the last level or second to last level is the last level on foot. That's
By the
where
way,
it goes.
the
Last level
pistol
on
you
foot
use is the heavy blaster pistol, which is just the same fucking gun that Han Solo has.
because this is Han Solo. So, but I
Gun.
we hadn't really mentioned the blaster yet. I don't really mind the blaster. Like it has like a recharge thing to it, which it
Yeah.
doesn't bother me. I just like that. I don't know. I didn't have any problem with that.
I mean,
But
it's one of those things where like every Star Wars game has to deal with how do you balance a blaster. It's something that every single Star Wars game does.
Yeah.
This game, you lose the charge.
But
Yeah.
you basically have infinite amounts. So
It's like the Mass Effect 1 situation where it's like, oh, it's like overheating and you gotta let it cool off. You gotta let it recharge.
yeah.
It's every game does it differently. Like the new Battlefronts, I guess the old Battlefronts did too. You had like the ammo packs you had to replace, which is simply the same as reloading. I guess you did like the old Republic games. There was like a chance of hit. It's just one of those balancing things they have to add in there. I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
It was just it was odd to not have like, oh, you have a certain amount of ammo for this.
Yeah. And there are other weapons, and I think some of them are better than others. I always thought you could only really use the Seekers, which are the missiles, and then the laser and the Seekers, and then everything else is kind of like just extra. Because there's a flamethrower and
Garbage.
pulse weapon. Yeah, the pulse weapon.
Is good. You can stand right next to someone and
Right,
hold down
yeah.
the trigger. That's
Yeah.
it.
It's always funny to me how like in those old movies, they just because they're old movies, like every movie back then, no one was reloading any gun. That's just not something that happened in old movies. I can't think of anybody reloading a gun before maybe like The Matrix.
I'm sure people did. Okay.
I'm sure they did. Just off the top of my head, I can't think of any, and they certainly don't in Star Wars. It's just always been funny to me that they're like, well, they don't reload their blasters in Star Wars, so in a game we have to figure out how to do that. It's like, well, you can just make them reload. We can just understand that it's a movie, and we're not going to watch Han Solo reload his gun.
Well, it's a space gun. It has
It's a space gun.
virtually unlimited ammo.
I like how, like, at some point in the Clone Wars, they were just like, yeah, they have ammo packs. Like, we give up. We're not going to find a solution for this. They have ammo packs.
Okay.
It's just like early on, they were like, well, these space guns, they are blasters, and so you don't reload them because Han Solo didn't reload it in the movie, so...
Yeah.
It's definitely
Stop
a
writing
product
it
of
and
its time.
Stop writing to Star Wars Insider and asking us that.
Yeah. Part of the reason is, sorry. Part of the reason is the DL-44 blaster pistol, the Han Solo's blaster pistol. You can't actually reload it because of the way the armorer built the thing. The scope on it is covering up the clip where you'd put the ammo into it. So,
Wow.
there was no way to actually load it as a real gun.
All right.
Yeah.
So I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
Okay.
palace. Caesar's palace.
The palace.
Yes. Thank you.
Caesar's palace.
This level.
You go to Caesar's
John
palace
Rickles is there.
and you bet it all
I
on
mean-
black and you lose it all. It's really annoying.
The game doesn't do a really good job of explaining, but technically in the story, if you're talking about the novel, everybody's here at the time. Well, not Han Solo, he's busy being frozen, but Leia's here and wearing some like blue costume that Little Caesar puts her into, which I posted a picture in.
Little
I had forgotten all about this. I haven't, I mean, that's been 20 years since I read the book, but it's been a while. Now I really want to read the book again. I'm mad at myself, but
Like
Yeah,
the image
other
you just posted
copy,
the outfit. I have not noticed up until this point that she's wearing heels without heels. She's just wearing the heels but standing on her tiptoes.
who knows? But she's like, because she's getting control. Luke is here to go fight Scizor, which again seems like the worst. I know. We're like the worst idea. Why would the hell would you go to the planet where the Emperor, the Imperials have the most jurisdiction and be like, we're gonna. I guess he's going there to rescue Leia. I really should have read this book before doing this episode.
They
is the,
infiltrated it.
Is the Emperor here at this point, or is he off? Like, because they don't really cover where the Emperor is that much in any of the movies during this time.
Mhm.
He hadn't been invented yet.
Well, he was in
He's in Empire.
he's in Empire Strikes Back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, he
He's
was a
just-
hologram.
He's
Yeah,
a
he's
hologram.
He had
Yeah.
chimp eyes.
Yeah. He doesn't show up he doesn't show up in person.
Until
Until-
Phantom Menace.
Yeah, until Phantom Menace. That's the first one that he shows up in person.
Oh my god.
I know. I'm being an asshole.
I'm trying to think. He's not in A New Hope.
No,
But
he's
he's
not.
mentioned.
I
He's
guarantee you
He's
that.
mentioned, yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
assume that he's off like wherever the Death Star is at all times.
Well,
He's in some Imperial Star Destroyer flying around.
Maybe he's on Mustafar.
I think in
Eh.
some of the comics they say like he is on Coruscant at times, but there's really no reason for him to be on Coruscant because, as we all know from the movies, Jar Jar Binks is in charge of the Senate after the Empire takes over.
He should be on Naboo at like his lake house, shouldn't he? Like fishing or something. Or...
He's just the Emperor of the Sith fishing. That's
Gotta get that
that's a
fishing skill up.
fantastic image. But he gets like really frustrated with it really easily, so he just forces all the fish out of the water.
Electrocutes them all.
It's just electrocuting the water. You see dead fish and fucking like
one
Jar
thing
Jar
about
Binks'
this game,
bodies floating down the river.
I gotta take over. One thing about this level though, you don't ever fight Caesar, Little Caesar.
I want everyone to just take a minute and just picture this in their heads and just feel better because it's a great image.
Palpatine grabbing fish out of a lake in Naboo.
He's just like
Well,
yelling
he
at the
doesn't do it.
water.
Someone else does it. He has like the guy with the big blue tentacles do it. Masamune.
He's had a little too many alcoholic blue milks. Just like,
You go get the fish out.
But I don't know what you're talking about because there's no Star Wars movie with Palpatine having a lake house. I mean, there's no movie like that. I don't know what you're talking about. I remember a fever dream where they were at a lake house with Anakin and Padme, but that was a fever dream, right? It wasn't a movie.
he's running through like the wheat fields of Naboo. It's just like he's just strolling around, enjoying himself. And every now and then Darth Vader calls him up and he's just like, "What now?" Great, what's been blown up this time? I gave you 3 AT-ATs. Those things are so expensive.
Have you found the Kyber crystal yet?
We need a
Oh,
big
God.
Kyber crystal. And all these people are trying to steal our plans. Why don't I have
Robot.
the plans? Just give me
It's
the
Robot
plans.
Chicken, isn't this? Yeah, it's Robot
Actually.
Chicken. Okay.
It's based off
All
of
right.
Robot Chicken.
All right, wait, Caesar's
So if we were
palace.
talking the Prince Caesar palace, like you don't, which makes sense in the storyline because Luke is fighting Little Caesar, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't fight him because you fight a freaking gladiator droid,
You fight his droid.
which
Yep.
which was stupid. Like, why do you fight a giant droid? I don't get that.
They build up Prince Caesar as like the big bad of the game, and you fight his droid while Luke fights the main bad guy.
But I don't think
Yeah.
that's ever mentioned in the game. That's mentioned in the book, and then maybe it's mentioned in
Yeah.
the comic, which I couldn't finish reading in time because I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, it's
It's
just
from the
like a
book. It's like his martial arts, Shizo's martial arts like practices with a big droid or something.
It's
But
little-
yeah,
Oh,
That
God.
droid pissed me off because I beat it the first time. I used my disruptor. I'm like, yeah, I did it. And he goes to the second form. I'm like, okay. And I use some more disruptor. I'm like, yeah, I got this. And all of a sudden, it's a third form. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh
like
yeah.
small, just flies around. Yeah,
I
Oh,
lost three
It's a
or four
jetpack.
fights in that
Yeah.
fight just because I couldn't hit him.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't care because I had tons of lives. But
who's
it-
the Chiss guy from Star Wars Rebel? Thrawn, Admiral Thrawn. It's like his exact thing where he's got like his robots that he fights with like to stay busy. All the best parts of Prince Caesar they just took and they put him into Admiral Thrawn in the Rebel show.
Yeah. Thrawn is so much better in the Timothy Zahn novels, though. If anyone ever gets a chance to read a Star Wars novel, read those ones.
Thrawn is such a cool character. Thrawn is like you can tell Thrawn is what they really wanted Prince Caesar to be,
Yeah.
but he just doesn't have. I mean, first of all, it's a '97 game, so there's no way any character could have like that much presence. But Thrawn is just such a like intimidating character whenever he's
Weren't
around.
Mhm.
Weren't those books already written at this point?
Yeah.
What?
They were.
Okay.
They're from the early 90s.
Okay, so they literally stole Thrawn and made him Prince Caesar.
Made him green. So
Well, made him green instead of blue.
like
And
we
they made him
mentioned
less
before,
intimidating.
in between all the Star Wars BS we've had so far in this episode, this was like this was them trying to relaunch the Star Wars brand. It felt like because I know there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
book, the comic, there's the original soundtrack.
Mhm.
I mean, this takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, two of the best Star Wars movies.
Well, it's
After-
that like we've talked about this before with the Batman game. It's like that You just know that this was like part of an effort where they said like, okay, Phantom Menace is coming out in 2 years. We've got to build up all this Star Wars hype. We've got to like manufacture this nostalgia in people now. Like parents will buy Star Wars games for their kids, and then they'll think like, oh man, I love the old Star Wars movies. And they'll watch the old Star Wars movies, and then bam, Phantom Menace is coming out, and it's like this is all part of an effort for them to keep Star Wars in the public eye before the Phantom Menace came out.
Yeah, and didn't they also like release the Star Wars trilogy special editions around this time too? I want to say
shortly after.
Yeah. It was all that was the movie portion. So it was a multimedia plan before Phantom Menace, and the special editions were like the movie component of the.
Which I mean,
yeah,
it clearly worked. I mean, everyone was ridiculously pumped for Phantom Menace.
Oh,
if you weren't old enough to remember feeling excited for Phantom Menace, then get older, nerd.
I'll take it. You can or do it. Take it or leave it.
1997.
Just be older than you are.
Is when it came out. The special edition. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, came out in 99. And 1995 is the last chance to get the original trilogy on VHS before they're taken off the market, which I know a lot of people are upset about.
Yes. Although
we could go into a whole podcast about that.
Yeah, we're not going to. I shouldn't. I didn't say it. Forget I said it.
I think people. I will say I think people were more upset about that than they should have been. Not that it isn't annoying, but it's not like they were unavailable. If you bought Star Wars on DVD at any point, pretty much, like I have all the Star Wars DVDs I bought around like I don't know, say like between 2002 and 5, I guess, just guessing. And it is the remastered movies, but they all have special edition like on the menu where you can just watch the original movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of like when people say like, oh, it's ridiculous, you can't watch these old movies anywhere. I kind of want to pull them up on that and be like, well, if you bought the DVDs, you could watch the original unremastered versions.
Yeah, it was like a special feature on it, wasn't it?
Yeah, on every DVD they have the special, like on all the originals at least, they had the special edition. You can watch the special edition, unspecial edition of it.
Or if you're Peter, you can watch the original trilogy on Laserdisc.
Jesus, really?
I did have it. Yeah, my father had.
Oh, you don't have it anymore? Oh, okay.
They might still be around. I don't know if the Star Wars ones were ever tossed out.
I remember that still. I just want to make that joke.
I believe you. we probably both watched them on Laserdisc at some point. Yeah,
we did.
We had to. I still remember where the breaks were, where you flip over the disc. And, yeah,
those have got to be worth a little bit of money now, right?
They're a little bit. So. And maybe like $20, I would say.
Oh, okay, yeah. So very little bit.
Yeah,
Laserdisc is not something that lasted around. Just like Beta is something that didn't last. This is an odd joke that I know Stu will get. I actually never really even heard of Beta until I was watching that Cowboy Bebop episode.
It's the
where
first
he's
thing
like, I need a Beta. I'm like, what's he talking about? And I realize it's a real thing. I'm like, oh.
That's whenever I hear Beta, that's the first thing I think of, Mike. They have to go find like the one guy on Mars that runs like the antique shop.
Oh, Laserdisc set is $35. Buy it now on eBay.
Oh, okay. Well, hold on to that for like another 100 years, and that shit will be worth some money.
All right.
Oh, $90. Full set. $30 for one of the movies. I was wrong.
Well, hold on that shit for 100 years, and that shit will be worth, I don't know, like $500.
Broken.
In 2077.
Hey, episode 1 is $65 on Laserdisc.
Never had that one on Laserdisc. Only had the VHS.
I was lucky enough to, my grandmother really liked Star Wars, and so she had all the OG VHSs that I'm amazed that I never wore out because I just watched that shit like every day as a kid at her house. Both my grandparents lived very near each other, and so I would go to one grandparent's house after school, and then at that house, because this was back in like early 90s where a 6-year-old could walk through a neighborhood several streets away and be fine. So I would just walk from that house to the other house that was like half a mile away, and I would watch Star Wars, and then I would walk back.
That's pretty cool.
I think we should mention the last level, which ends up being a flying level, which I actually really liked this last level. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting to.
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of talk about the premise of it, Peter?
Well, it's 2 parts. The first one is you have to just blow up a bunch of TIE fighters and a bunch of Prince Shizor's. Well, first what do you call those? I forget the name of his fleet of ships or whatever. I forget what they're called, but they all come at you, and so you have to blow up a bunch of his ships. Then a Star Destroyer comes and releases TIE fighters.
They're not the AEG-77. That's all I know about.
No,
they're random like Imperial ships.
And then you have to fight the Skyhook, which is
Yes.
Shizor's giant space station.
Which
Viper class, Star Viper, that's what it is.
I really liked his. I like the Skyhook. I think it'll really cool.
It does a really cool design, and you have to fly inside of it. And if you go too far, you're gonna crash and just blow up.
It's
like
It's Star Fox is what it is.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could slow down right away.
It's the Millennium Falcon destroying the Star Destroyer. That's
right. I flew in there, bombed it, blew up using their light, flew in there, bombed it, and then went, oh, you can slow down. Huh? That makes it a lot easier. Still blew up, but
yeah. It's kind of complicated, and so you might have to do it a few times, but it is.
It's cool,
I think
though.
It's pretty fun.
I enjoyed it, and I was very happy when I beat this game.
It's a very Star Wars ending, which is okay in a Star Wars game.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And when I beat it, Peter made a comment like, "Well, now you need to play it on medium," and I'm like, "How do you know I didn't play it on hard difficulty?" He was right. I played on easy, but I just thought it was funny. I'm like, I'm offended, sir. I was.
Yeah, I know you too well, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to explain the end scene of this game too? Because this game has like an end scene, like epilogue that is just very strange.
Well, in mine, Dash died, and they don't know what happened to him in my ending. When the game ended.
Well, so you don't remember the scene after that?
I turned off the game.
Oh, well, we have to explain to Mike.
Like,
did you really turn off the game?
Yeah, I beat it. I was done.
Okay, well, now we have to explain to the audience and also to Mike what happens. You serious?
Yeah, I'm not kidding. I turned it off.
Okay.
I thought it was over. Like, I beat it. Okay.
Yeah, so...
I beat it,
okay.
click.
So, Mike, what happens after you destroy this Skyhook is, it blows up, and everyone gets away except for Dash, who was killed in the blast. It's kind of a sour ending of the game. Except if you didn't turn the game off immediately and you watched literally for like 30 seconds longer, you see Luke and Leia on Tatooine, and they're like talking about how much they miss Dash because he's the coolest guy ever.
Okay, I really didn't see this. 100% didn't see this. I'm like, what are you talking about? I thought you were joking. I'm like, oh, you're not joking. Oh.
Well, actually, I don't know if you saw this on easy. I think you had to play on medium or high.
I think
either way, the game
So-
got turned off immediately.
So the next scene immediately following this is Dash and Lebo on their ship. And Lebo's like, it's a good thing we managed to jump to hyperspace before the ship blew up. And Dash is like, yeah, like, we're the best. We're the coolest. And Lebo's like, should we tell anybody that we're alive? And he's like, nah, it's better for people to think you're dead and have the honor than to just be alive. That's how the game ends.
which fits Dash. I mean, if it's Han Solo, which
it kind of fits
Han
Dash,
Solo.
except he, like, presumably because they think he's dead, he's not getting paid for that job. So,
good point.
You think you'd want his money?
Well,
yeah. Dash's whole character arc in this game is, I want money, pay me, pay me, pay me, pay me. I'm the coolest, pay me. And at the end, he's like, it's better to be a martyr without actually being dead, wouldn't you say? No, your whole thing is money. All you want is money.
He's like Han Solo. What do you know?
It is Han. Yeah.
I do have a fact and a question. The fact is that actually Shizor does survive the explosion on the Skyhook, and apparently there's a sequel. That's my question. Like, is he in anything else? Because I don't remember seeing him again.
Did he survive? Where is that said that he survived?
I was watching a documentary about this game, and it said that that he survives.
He does survive.
Where were you watching this?
YouTube.
He wasn't in anything else as far as I know. And the sequel had nothing to do with him. The sequel followed his like robot Guri, his like robot assistant, and Dash Runner shows up at the very end, and that's all really the tie-in to this one.
According to Wikipedia, the very last line in Prince Xizor's biography section, immediately following him being presumed killed on the Skyhook, is as of 43.5 after the Battle of Yavin, there were still rumors among the Jedi that Xizor was somehow alive. However, they were quickly debunked. so he's dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a planned sequel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's a section on romance.
Yeah, sure.
Here.
Sequel's coming, I'm sure.
Oh, occasionally he slept with
right.
Guru.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's the blonde chick?
yeah, that's like his robot assistant.
Oh, like
from the novel and the
she's
comic, I guess.
she's like a Cylon.
Yeah. Basically.
Okay.
She's like Lando's assistant on Cloud City, but hot and blonde instead of bald and old. Although Lando probably was sleeping with that guy too, based on Solo, where Lando is like apparently like they made a whole deal about Lando being pansexual, but it turns out he was just attracted to robots. I guess is what pansexual means in Star Wars.
Yeah, we said at the beginning there won't be a lot of sex talk, and it turns out there is plenty of sex talk.
I mean, when you talk about Lando now, you have to bring up his weird robot obsession.
Billy D. Williams says he's gender fluid, so.
Again, that doesn't mean attracted to robots.
It's true.
Very specifically.
It doesn't actually mean it.
Yeah. Like,
hey, they're getting close to having robots like that, so.
I feel like if
I'll watch a whole documentary about it.
If you're only attracted to robots, there's probably a specific term for that, like robosexual or something.
Yeah. Well, we'll start Googling it and see what we come up with.
It's weird that they were like, he's attracted to everybody, but the only people you ever see him be attracted to are inanimate robots. Or I guess animate robots.
I have one more thing to say about this game that I haven't brought up. There was a debug code for the N64 that was you could get the jetpack at any level, and you could get infinite weapons and ammo and stuff. The only thing was it was incredibly hard to pull off, and I remember my brother and I trying very hard because you had to like press every key on the N64 controller and like use your nose to move the control, the control stick around. That was like the only way to get the code to work, and it's just the hardest one I could ever remember for any game. So
I wish stuff like that would come back, like weird codes or
yeah.
What game was it? Was it it wasn't Knights of the Old Republic, I don't think. It might have been. There was some game where you had to plug in a second Xbox controller, and if you hit the white or black buttons, it would change the pitch of everyone's. It was like a cheat code, quote unquote. But you press the black and white buttons, it would change the pitch of people's dialogue.
Oh, nice. Those are always.
I do not ever heard of this. I don't think.
I think I do remember that, Stu. Yeah.
Was that for Knights of the Old Republic?
I think you might be right. It was definitely a game on the original Xbox.
Yeah, it was either Knights of the Republic or like Enter the Matrix, the two games I played the most back then. Hey, Enter the Matrix was great. Play it on the show at some point.
Well, now we have the ability to.
It wasn't Enter the Matrix because Enter the Matrix codes was like you put the codes into the Matrix and it unlocks them.
Oh yeah.
I wish old cheat codes like that need to come back so badly.
I agree.
I think we should move on to questions or comments.
Okay.
Okay.
First actual question from Sebastian Games. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Favorite Star Wars character? We're gonna say from this that's in this game.
Oh,
I'll
go first.
Easy.
Boba Fett.
Yep, that's easy.
Peter, how about you?
I'm gonna say the Green Imperial Commando.
Okay.
Stu, keep your answer under 10 seconds. Go.
Princess Leia.
Okay. I'm impressed. All right. Yeah, she is awesome.
Yeah, it was either going to be Princess Leia or IG-88.
This is like one comment from Jordan Etherington. I remember how insanely hard it was to enter the cheat code. I don't remember that I didn't try it, but we talked about it earlier. Okay.
Yeah.
That we had to play it with your nose or something. I could only hear bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, you had to press like a lot of buttons on the controller, and then you had to move the white control stick on the controller with your nose, and that was the only way you could like get it to work.
Okay. Oh, I also want to say that I actually got a lot of feedback about this game from the two different groups I posted. I'm not going to read everything, but I got some good stuff I do want to read. But this thing cracked me up from Matt Eisenhofer. He said, I remember one Hanukkah, I received the guide for Shadows of the Empire on the first night. I got so excited for the next 7 nights, and the 8th night came and went, and I didn't get the game. To this day, I still have the strategy guide for the game and have never owned the game.
Oh, that sucks.
I read that.
Rectify that.
I wonder how.
Oh, well, there's easy ways.
I wonder how effectively. I kind of want to test this now. Like, for one episode, I want to try to buy a strategy guide for a game and not play the game at all and see how effectively I can talk about it or something.
See, but you should have not told us that until after you did it.
No, I shouldn't have. But I wonder how much you could experience a game based on the strategy guide rather than the game itself.
A lot. This is a memory from me as a kid when I was terrible at games. Still am. That didn't change. And I didn't have the ability to save state and stuff when I was a kid. And what I would do is I would read game magazines like Nintendo Power had like maps. And I remember I would sit there and just study the map like Mega Man, things of that nature. And that would be how I experienced the game because there were no videos. I would just read. I would buy player's guides for games. I would never play like Star Fox 64. I owned the guide back when I was a kid when it came out. Didn't beat the game until this podcast. And I would sit there and just read the guide. So, yes, you can. It's not a very good idea, but you can.
I think I've talked about this before, but I have the Elder Scrolls Oblivion strategy guide, and I played so much of
memorized.
I have that game memorized to this day, almost. I'd say pretty close to perfect. It's just something that will never leave my head. But I used to read the strategy guide to the point that I can point out flaws in the strategy guide. Not like typos, like some flaws where quests could be completed, but the strategy guide said they couldn't, or like a character's name would be. It would be like the wrong character's name written down. There's a thing in the strategy guide where it lists, I think it's Black Rock Caverns, which is full of the Black Rock pirates, and in the strategy guide it says it's filled with goblins and trolls, and that's inaccurate.
Yeah, I think Prima was notorious for that. And also, I think we did mention, too, is probably because they got, like, earlier copies of the game.
Yeah, Prima just... Yeah. I understand they were working what they could, but yeah, Prima just... They were trying to crank it out too fast, and they just ended up sucking at strategy guides.
All right,
another comment
another one I want to read from Daniel Jones, who's on this podcast before. He said, I remember getting my N64 with this game for Christmas, and my older brothers and cousins were all excited to play. And we all had a blast seeing the snow speeder leveled, and as soon as Das went inside the base, I just remember my cousins laughing because they thought it looked terrible. I think it looks good, but then again, I think mine was up res. From that point on, but I had already played through that level before they even came over, and I had loved it. So from that point on, I have accepted that most people don't like this game, but I don't care. I still think it's awesome. It is awesome. I had no problem with this game. So okay, we didn't mention this, so this is a good way to bring this up. From Tim McCallum. I remember discovering the invincibility item on top of a platform to easily defeat the AT-ST and Echo Base. Oh. We hadn't mentioned that. That's in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job of stocking rooms full of ammo when you're about to fight a boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did like that. I didn't use it. I would just save. I hoarded all the ammo in this game until the end because that's how I play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not the final levels, you need it more.
Yeah. I'm sure Stefan and I both had like 88 missiles at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Did anybody... Well, I did not have done this for a while, but I used to collect the challenge points, which are those floating Rebel Alliance symbols.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always, they're like the tokens or whatever.
I was gonna make a joke. The Star Killer symbol when he dies.
Star Killer.
Oh. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, it was. The rewards were never as good. The rewards when you collect them all and beat on easy, it's like you get like an X-ray scanner or something, and then.
Oh, you get stuff.
Yeah, if you collect them all, like every level, I think medium you get to play as an X-wing or a TIE fighter in the last level, and then on hard you get to like all weapons, and then in Jedi in the final boss you get invincibility from Wampas, and that's like the final code you can.
I like how all these things are like gifts that you get when in reality it's like I really don't want to fight the last fight as a TIE fighter or fucking anything.
Yeah, they're never as fun to pay off. It's for
awesome. I'm trying to think of like the best game about that. I think it was Call of Duty 4, right? Where you get all the intel and you unlock all the cool cheats that you can turn on the game. Like a bad year when you kill enemies, they explode into tires, or like when you throw a grenade, they blow up and it clusters out.
Yeah,
that shit was just fun.
Oh, yeah. And I have a question from Jerry Klein. He said, how would you rank the 4 Star Wars games released for the N64 in order worst to best? Did anyone even play all 4 other than Peter?
What are they, real quick?
Pod Racer, Battle for Naboo, Rogue Leader, and Rogue Squadron.
I think I'd put Rogue Squadron at the top.
Mm-hmm.
I can't answer this question. I haven't played them all.
I mean, pod racing actually was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's gonna be my number 2. That was really good. I think I would.
I don't.
What was the other one? What was the third one?
Battle for Naboo, which is like Rogue Squadron, but with Naboo and Episode 1 stuff.
Yeah, I think I would do Rogue Squadron, Rogue Squadron, Pod Racer, Battle for Naboo, and then this. They're all pretty good, but I think that's the order I would go with personally.
We'll go with that. I got nothing. I haven't played them.
I'm looking over at my strategy guides, and I realize I have one for Knights of the Old Republic 2. When we do that on the podcast, the Prima strategy guide I have for that, since that game wasn't finished ever, I don't know what version of that game that Prima got to do their strategy guide off of, but it is like 50% inaccurate.
Wow. Okay, we definitely have to
really
figure that out
bad.
when we do this.
I'll have to crack it. I'll have to crack it open for once in like 10 years, but it is so wildly inaccurate to the point that like characters that don't exist in the game anymore are mentioned in the strategy guide, and some characters are just cut entirely. Some characters like never got made.
That's a crime about that game. All right. I have another question I want to read. This I don't agree with. Or not question, but comment from Matthew Kraft. He said the train level sucks. You're wrong, sir.
I agree with you. Sir.
What?
It was so boring. It's just so boring.
You got to be on your
I
toes
guess I
the whole
can't
time.
really judge
though.
your opinion.
I mean, it's like fine, but after the awesome Hoth battle where it just slows way the fuck down, it's like, all right, we're gonna go from the high speed, literally a ship called a speeder. We're gonna go from a speeder to battling an ATST on foot to riding the train.
I like riding the train.
Well, I don't know what part that's the score that they use in that level, the train level. I don't know what it's called, but that's got to be one of the best Star Wars songs ever. So I don't
agree.
know.
And had that played the whole time, I probably would have enjoyed it more. But it didn't loop. It played once and then it ended, and that's a very long section to not have any music in.
Yeah,
So
you
weird.
can't go any faster, and there's just the trains.
You had to have had a
reinstalled.
glitch or something, Stu. I
I
don't
think
know.
it was. I think I bet if I reinstall the game and play it again, it'll be fixed. I bet it just like installed weird or something, and a bunch of shit got messed up.
It's called Hyperspace, and it's from Empire Strikes Back when they're trying to rescue Luke from Cloud City.
That's right.
I think all the music in this was Empire Strikes Back music for the most part.
There was the last few levels were like original from the soundtrack. Like the Friezo's Palace and the sewer levels were all from the CD that was released around the time.
It'd be great if they had oh god, what's that The Who? It's like the Mongolian rock band that has the song in Fallen Order. It's like Mongolian throat singing / death metal. It's a fucking fantastic song. I don't love death metal, but I fucking love that song for some reason. That'd be great if like that was in the middle of the game for no reason.
All right, I have a couple more I want to read from the Laser Time group, which also one of the awesome groups that gives us a lot of our questions for this show and listens to us too. I hope some of our listeners are from this group.
Laser Time.
I do want to Laser Time. It's a podcast that I used to listen to, and then I joined the group. Now I promote this show. So, but that's neither here nor there. First comment from Nick Crowley said, "I never played the game, but loved the book. I really should have reread this book. I remember loving the book when Peter gave it to me when I first visited Milwaukee, like the first time in like 10 years, I think it was.
Yeah,
sounds right. Yeah,
he gave me the book. Yeah." And then I have another comment from Chad Hembrook. Said, "I loved the game and then read the book. Probably my favorite Star Wars story." I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good story. The book is very good. The game, it's a good game, but it doesn't really talk. The story is okay.
I apologize for shitting all over Dash Rendar, but I stand by what I said.
You know,
I
he's
didn't
not
hear
really
some
in
of
the
it,
book, then.
so no, he's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The book is more Luke and Leia and what they're doing, which isn't really in this game.
Okay,
I mean, this game kind of goes alongside. Like, and even the comic's not really about Dash Rendar that much.
Right. We should mention that every single one of these three things explores different parts of the story a little bit further than other parts. So, like, the comic book actually explores Boba Fett and IG-88 going at it a little bit more.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Which
they fight
is
space.
not in this game at all. Yeah.
No, they talk about it though.
I gotta straight up kill IG-88. Like, what a completely anticlimactic end to that character. Just
All
dead.
right. And I have another another memory from Jose de Gracia. So this is the only game my stepdad played. He had just had so much fun jumping around the canyon with the jetpack and fighting Boba Fett. I tried getting him to all the other levels, but he was not interested and only played that one level. Good level.
It's
It's a good level. It's my favorite level.
The only part of this game that's like really not great is Part 3, where it just slows down way too much. And it's just like, like I feel like they could have cut the Part 3 out of this game almost entirely and just had it like maybe the Suprosa stuff be part of Part 2 or Part 4. Like the whole swoop bike to Obi-Wan's home. It's just like,
It's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, they certainly could have.
Yeah, but based on what Peter said, I'm actually going to ask this question. What was everyone's favorite level?
Well, Gull for spaceport for me.
Gull spaceport also.
As much as I love Ord Mantell as a planet, I'm going to have to go with the first level where you're taking down AT-ATs.
Yeah.
It's just such a strong opening to this game. I played the opening to this game as a kid.
It's a tie, 2 for 2.
Yeah. All right. I got 3 more memories I want to read quick because I want to start wrapping this up. One from Adam Jones, Wampa Stampa, obviously the best cheat code ever, which I completely forgot about until this podcast.
I think you the best punk band ever.
Yeah, Rhett Leach. The game was so disappointing. I so want N64 just for this game. I played the demo Hoth level endlessly on the PC. When I did finally play the full game, I was shocked that the only good, even playable part was Hoth. I disagree, but I feel bad that you didn't enjoy this game because it's a really good game.
Really harsh criticism.
Yeah, well, everyone's opinion. I mean, hey, some people think Star Wars Holiday Special was a movie you put on your shelf because it was good, but hey, I mean, we all can have good opinions.
Nobody said it was good, okay? We said it was culturally important.
Kendall really likes that movie. Kendall really likes that movie, okay? Like that movie. He wasn't playing. I know he said he was sort of playing a character. He wasn't. I know, but he's not here, so.
Some of us said that I put it on my shelf because I thought it was interesting as a piece of media. I would never say that it's good.
This from Ethan Birch said, I never played the game. I did read the book. One interesting bit of information is that there's an action figure line for Shadows of the Empire. Yes, which we talked about a lot earlier, more than we should have. And Chewbacca's costume is called the Snuva disguise. That I did not know, and that's the whole reason I read this comic, because I was. When I look at the toy, I didn't. At least maybe I wasn't paying enough attention, but I really kind of want that toy now for some strange reason. I want that toy.
I think you should go. Well, actually, and look it up.
I did already. But speaking of toys, I posted a picture of a toy. If I see this in a store at some point, like a comic store, I will buy it. I'm tempted to bid on it. It's a 2-pack with Boba Fett versus IG-88 with a comic, and I really want to buy it right now. But I'm not going.
How do you spell?
But I'm really tempted. I just had it here. He spelled it Snoova, just like it sounds. Maybe I said it wrong.
God damn it! If you look up any Chewbacca thing now, you can only see the Chewbacca lady with the mask on.
All right.
Why does she have her own Wikipedia page? Jesus Christ!
And then we're gonna be done with this part. From Carrie Chandler said, this is one of my absolute favorite N64 games, and one of the only 2 I owned for the first year or so the system was out. Starved for content, I played through it over and over again. I think my favorite memory of the game was releasing the Wampas in Echo Base and letting it slaughter snowtroopers for me. I didn't know you could do that.
You could.
And Star Wars is to this day my biggest fandom, and being around 14 when this game came out, I was deeply immersed in the extended universe at the time. I read the book when it came out. It was a really great story that went a good deal beyond what was in the game. Oh yeah, it did. From what I vaguely remember. It's just not very
5 years ago.
I know, but a lot happened in 5 years. I didn't. Yeah. I got married in the last 5 years. What's happened?
Well, look at you.
Sorry. Yeah. Congratulations, Mike. Whatever. I'm looking at something else.
Thank you. Hey, something I don't get to mention normally. I'm going to mention on this podcast right now. When we got married, when we walked out, like after your first pronounced bride and husband and bride, and we walked off. We walked out to the. Yeah, good point. Oh God, we walked out to the throne room. Episode 4, and I didn't tell any of my groomsmen or anyone that it was going to be playing. And Peter I remember looking at me as the music starts playing.
I was surprised.
Or when we all walked out Jurassic Park, you're like, "That's Jurassic Park!" I'm like, "Go!" I'm like, "Don't look at me."
The reason I yelled,
I didn't get to tell that story before.
This is actually really interesting. I did not know this. The actor who played Luke Skywalker in this is Bob Bergen.
Also played the Joker.
He did not play the Joker.
I know.
But it's Bob Bergen, and if you don't know who Bob Bergen is, he played Porky Pig. And he also played Luke Skywalker in Robot Chicken, which is probably why I was thinking of Robot Chicken so much while looking at the cutscenes. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Bob Bergen is a funny guy.
Last question I'm going to read from Nick Turner, or last comment. I shouldn't even say question anymore. If you don't know, you can look up. it will take you about an hour to kill the first ATST in the hangar at the beginning of the game just by shooting at his legs.
Not on the PC version.
On the version we played. All right. And
I played Lebo, played Yoda.
Oh, and one quick thing I do want to say before we go to Shelf or Box. Depending on timing, if you're listening to this, you're also going to hear our first audio message on this podcast from a future guest on the show. Recorded a voice, recorded a comment for this game, and it will be right here for you guys to listen to.
Hey gang, it's Cage Crippler Cody Laveau. Thank you for letting me record this for you guys. As many of you may know, the N64 holds a very special place in my heart. It was the first console that I ever bought with my own money. Actually mowed lawns for an entire summer, saved it up, bought it myself, and it meant that much more to me. Didn't have a lot of money left over, so I used to rent a game every single Friday night from Hastings, if you remember back when those were still a thing. And one of my first games that I ever rented for the N64, probably all the way back in like 98 or 99, was Shadows of the Empire. Big Star Wars nerd, even before any of the prequels came out, right? I remember I was ruling it, right? Got all the way through the Battle of Hoth, got to destroy the Chicken Walker, rode that big, stupid, long train for way too long. IG-88, I fought Boba Fett. That was exciting. And then I get to that goddamn swoop bike, right? I'm sure you guys might have had a similar issue that I had. My first thought is that I have this swoop bike. What I'm going to do is I am just going to gun it. Okay? I'm going to put the pedal to the metal and I'm going to run full speed into these shits, right? Turns out, no. When you do that, all it does is just make your bike explode. And you can't really turn very much, especially on the N64 stick. It wasn't always the most responsive for that. So while you're doing that, if you run full speed, you'll just explode. So I'd saved up all these lives and I just blew through all of them and could not get the job done. Went all the way, got to that swoop bike section and just crashed over and over and over again, exploded. I got frustrated. By the time Sunday came around, never wanted to look at it ever again. And that's the last time that I'd played it up until recently. I saw you guys were doing this episode on Facebook, and it's been my life's goal to own every single N64 game ever made. It's not that hard, but with the caveat of I am trying to collect every single one from pawn shops and from flea markets, not from any secondhand game sellers, not from the internet, just finding them organically out in the wild. And that's just been one of my pursuits. Like, that is something that I am driven to go out and do. I'm not really sure why, but I love the actual feel of finding that cart, bringing it back home to one of my refurbished N64s and trying it out. So it's like Kismet. I found this cart at a flea market about 2 months ago. So I popped it back in, played it just very recently, got up to that goddamn swoop bite section and could not figure it out. So I went online, pulled up a speed run that was done on GDQ like a few years ago. Yeah, it turns out all you have to do is just ride up next to him and just veer to the left or the right, or not, and like knock him into a building or the Sarlacc pit. And it's actually not that hard. Needless to say, I was feeling pretty dumb. Yeah, I was feeling pretty dumb. Yeah, okay. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time, all right?
And now that we're back, I think it's time for us to go to Shelf or Box, guys. What do you think?
Sorry, I'm just looking up the voice actors for this game now. I'm sorry that I didn't look this up beforehand because they're all like legitimate voice actors.
All right. I think, Stefan, why don't you go first for Shelf or Box?
All right. Well, I think this game is pretty diverse. I enjoy that it has different levels in it, surprisingly. Even though some of them can be very frustrating, like the swoop bike race, which is god fucking awful.
Yes, it is.
And doesn't make any lick of sense whatsoever. The rest of the game is kind of fun. It's just this weird little niche story that doesn't really matter anymore because the extended universe is gone. So you're just kind of playing this bottle of the past of like old Star Wars lore. But somehow I still enjoy like the way it moves. I love that you get a jetpack. I feel like any Star Wars game that gives me a jetpack, I'm instantly in. So I don't know. I had a good time playing it, and I'd put it on my shelf.
Okay.
Now that we can play PlayStation games, Star Wars Bounty Hunter is out there.
Oh yeah.
PS2 games to specify.
Yeah.
All right.
So
How
look
about you,
forward to that in
Peter?
the podcast in the future.
Well, I bet you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say put it on your shelf because I have very fond memories of this game. If I remember, it was the first N64 game that I ever owned. I believe I got it Christmas '96, and I have played it endlessly then, and I will definitely keep revisiting it every few years because I just think it's a great Star Wars, like it was said earlier. It's a great piece of Star Wars lore, and it's just a fun time. So.
You're the main reason this game ended up on the podcast because I knew since it was such a big part of our childhood, I'm like, we need to talk about it again, and I really wanted to play it.
Yeah, and thank you for doing that because it brought back a lot of memories.
All right. I'm going to go next since we're going to save the best for last with Stu since that would be 10 minutes.
It's not going to be that long this time.
I'm going to put this game on the shelf. I really, really liked this game. When I first picked it for the show, I didn't know if I was really going to enjoy it because I remember having issue with it. I remember struggling with it, and I had a blast. I had more fun than I expected to have. I highly recommend get the chance, play the Steam version from the sound of it because it's more fluid and has quality of life enhancements. So definitely play it. I loved it. Will I play it again? I don't think so, just because I have no time. But I beat this game in almost a day. I would have beat I would have beat this game in a day on Thanksgiving if I would have just sat down and played it instead of sitting there watching Star Wars movies like Attack of the Clones. But
what?
I think I did watch that Thanksgiving. Tiff was at work, so I was just watching Star Wars movies. I think it was Attack of the Clones I was on that day. I can't remember. But this game is really good. Putting on the shelf. How about you, Stu?
I'm going to box this game, actually.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Despite it being Star Wars, despite the main character being played by John Seigan, who I fucking love, by the way. He plays Solid Snake and Kander Sordo and Mandalore in the KOTOR games. It's just, I enjoyed this game, but not nearly to the level of wanting to put it on my shelf. As much as I love Star Wars, and I fucking love Star Wars.
I know.
I'm gonna put this in my box. Going back to it, I didn't have the same amount of fun playing it now as I did as a kid. And I'm going to put the stipulation in here that had I played a version of this game that worked completely properly, had like the music worked, had the lines not been cut out, it's one of those things where it was either if it was a little better or a little worse, it would go on my shelf. If it was completely broken and a mess and almost like hysterically broken, I would put it on my shelf just because I think that'd be funny.
You're a strange man.
It only worked. It worked well enough for me to not really enjoy it. Had it worked better and I heard all the music, I would have loved all the music and everything. Like I said, a lot of the lines, like the voice lines, were just cut out for some reason, and that was just annoying. So sadly, I think this is going in my box. I might play it again in the future and change that. Hopefully, I'll play a better version. But yeah, I didn't have as much fun as when I played as a kid. I loved that first level. I loved that first level so much. The rest of the game, I was just like, it's okay.
Yeah, I'll add to that. If I had not played the PC version where I could just kill every boss in like 2 seconds, I probably would be putting this in the box. Yeah, I remember not having any fun with that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe that's good. Stefan and I will put the Nintendo 64 version on the shelf and we'll put the PC version in the box.
Yeah, it's all mixed.
He's the opposite. You said it wrong.
Oh, well, we'll be opposites of that.
Who's really listening anyway?
Yeah,
I was listening.
I was Googling John Seigan just to see how much I love him. John Seigan apparently just died 2 years ago. I didn't know that.
Stefan, do you want to introduce what wonderful game we're going to be talking about next week?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you did forget.
We are playing.
He was floored by the news that John Seigan died.
Yeah, we are playing the John Seigan Returns now.
Oh my God! Don't tease me. He's the best Canderous that ever existed.
We are playing a PS1 game called Fear Effect, which I think it's 4 discs, and I'm pretty sure we're all gonna have a lot to say about it.
Yeah.
I really need to play it, but I keep playing Link to the Past, even though Link to the Past is the following week, and I just
yeah.
So I really should get on that.
I keep forgetting what fucking game like this. these last 3 weeks, I've been so busy outside of this. I keep forgetting what games we're playing. So like I would say every other day, I have to check our fucking messenger and our schedule to see what I'm supposed to be playing.
Yep, same here.
I forget immediately. So I had to play this game like yesterday this morning. And then we had to change some games around, so it was like even more confusing for me.
Yeah, because this was supposed to be last week, and Abe's Odyssey was supposed to be this week. Next week was supposed to be Intelligent Key, but we realized we can't play that and talk about that, so then we changed it to Fear Effect.
Yeah. And thank God I played that early to figure that out, because that game was not a game at all.
Yeah.
It would have been us just rant about other.
It might as well have been like a bonus episode where we were just like talking about other shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's what happens when we bring Star Wars into the mix, I'm noticing.
Well, there's a lot to talk about with Star Wars.
Yeah, there was.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I also want to say, Peter, do you want to plug where people can find your book?
You can find it on Amazon at The Fifth Civilization, or go to peterbp.com, or on Twitter at peterbp.
And there will be a link in the show notes for his book. Usually, I think the Amazon link what he always sends me, so that will be in the show notes.
Good.
Also want to give another quick shout out to that podcast that we had mentioned earlier, X-Mex. So if you're looking for another podcast to add to your rotation, definitely give them a listen. I think they're a newer one that just started out not too long ago, but hey, they need some support, because we all us indie podcasts need some help, like us. We need you to spread us like we're. That would not be a good comparison. The Empire crumbled after a couple of years, so
spread us like the rebellion, because you can't kill the rebellion.
They do a pretty good job at some of those things.
Yeah, but they always come back. Rebellions are built on hope, Mike. The fire that lights the spark, or whatever that fucking line is from that movie.
I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember the line. I probably should.
It's close to it.
We'll be the spark that
built
lights
on
the
hope.
Fire that burns the Empire down, or something that burns down the First Order.
She is the reason, which added later on. Because I didn't realize the until Rogue One, that event happening is when the rebellion really becomes a rebellion.
Believe in the audience that believes in us. How about that? That's a good quote. Just forget Star Wars. We'll do Gurren Lagann.
And our awesome intro came courtesy of Bulby, a.k.a. Mike Stoney, from his EP, Bite the Bull Kids. I said it right.
I think it cut out slightly.
And there'll be a link in the show notes, so please, it should be fine. And please give him a follow on YouTube. He needs more subscribers. Everyone needs more subscribers. I didn't know what else to say. All right. I think it's time to wrap up this podcast.
I made tea for this podcast episode. Apparently I wasn't the only one that was just like completely tired and like getting sick this week. So apologies for me in particular. But
I'm tired too. I gotta get up and normally tomorrow's my day off and I edit and I have to work tomorrow, so I'm kind of just like, this is gonna be a shorter episode. I'm looking at the clicker. We're almost at 2 hours. I'm like, that didn't happen. That's okay.
I just got off like an 80-hour week and I'm feeling tired and sick, so I've got my tea, and I was like, the entire episode I kept having to mute my mic because I kept sneezing and coughing.
Yep.
Did a very good job.
See what we do for our audience, guys out there. So you need to spread us like the plague.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to thank everyone for listening. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Thank you again for joining us, Pete. A more normal episode this week, not what it was holiday special.
You're welcome.
Complete utter chaos. All right, and everyone, keep on listening to us. We will be back to you next week with Fear Effect. Everyone have a great night, everybody.
May the force be with you.
Bye.